It's steep hill country, sheep and beef farming predominantly, with a little bit of forestry, a lot of native bush, native scrub on the hillsides, and we're working here today doing willow and poplar erosion control on the hillsides and along the edge of the river.
It's very quiet. There are no electrical poles, no houses. It's a very peaceful place.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice place on a day like today working. But I mean, to be fair, all our farm sites, we get a lot of diversity in our work. And this is one spot we certainly enjoy. Yeah.
You run a nursery based in Cheviot?
Yep, Hurunui Natives Plant Nursery. So we run the nursery where we grow plants from seed sourced from all around the district here. And then we have got a planting crew. We're planting 12 months of the year. So in the winter months we do the poplar and willow poles. That's for about 2 months of the year. And that's for, it can be anywhere between sort of 20 and 30 farms. And then the rest of the time we're doing native plantings. A lot of our clients are dairy farmers around the Colvard and Murray Basin area. And we also do quite a lot on sheep and beef farms as well.
Now, you were brought up on a local farm?
Yes, it's actually only one farm over from this one. So my brother's on the home farm where our parents bought that farm in 1966, and they developed it. And as part of the development, it was all about not just developing for development, but actually looking after the land while they developed. So they protected the areas of the bush, and they put in poplar pole nurseries to grow poplar poles for planting around the farm as they developed the farm. And the idea was to hold all the hillsides that were slumping away. And so development and conservation and looking after the land went hand in hand, and that was the catchment board sort of days.
And you were saying that you're a bit of an expert when it comes to understanding where to plant poplars and willows and how to manage them.
Yeah, I guess expert's one word. I mean, I would say more that I've done a lot of years on it. I worked out the other day, it's over 40 years that I've been planting poplar and willow poles. So you do get a bit of understanding for that length of time. But one of the key things that I've learnt is that micro-siting, and you've actually makes a massive difference. You can have poles a metre apart, one will survive and one will die. And so that micro-siting, careful siting of where you put your poles is critical.
On these steep hills here, what are you looking for in terms of that right place to put the poles?
Well, the first thing with North Canterbury is our summer dry. So to get the poles to survive, you want them in a spot that they can maximise the moisture. So you're looking for wet spots above the slip or within the slip, little hollows that will hold water longer through the summer. And the system that we use here, because it's such dry hill country, we create a scoop around the poles so that they can capture water when it does rain. So that's why with siting the poles, a lot of thought goes into where we put them.
And how important is it for sheep and beef farmers who have this sort of hill country that they do stop this erosion?
Well, I guess again that comes with the years that I've observed what we do with poplar and willow poles. Like when my parents, Dad was out there planting poplar poles and I started learning about it all, what we saw was that transformation. I've been able to see that transformation over a long period of time.
Yep.
And so I've seen land that was badly scarring, badly tunnel gully erosion all heal over after 10, 20 years, and I've seen that transformation, and it is massive. And so to be able to hold the hillsides with these trees is it works, and it's incredibly successful.
Yeah. So how do they stop the erosion?
Yeah, so what we do with the poles, I mean, all our poles come from the River Protection Nursery, so it's through the Regional Council, and the poles are literally like a post. You're literally banging a post into the ground. So we're putting the poles, 700, 800, sometimes a bit more into the ground.
It's quite deep.
Yeah, quite deep. So we use a crowbar to spike a hole. We ram them in with rammers, and they've got a sleeve to protect the first sort of 2 metres out of the ground from stock. But the idea is that this is why it's important with the pole planting, that you've got the pole in the ground quite firm, because the roots start to form out from the side of the pole. There's no roots when you plant them. So that planting technique's really important, because if the pole's too sloppy in the ground, it moves in the wind and the roots break off.
Yep.
So the roots form in that top 30 centimetres, 30 centimetres of soil. And that's why that critical time is in the spring, once you go through into early summer. That's your critical time when the roots are forming and developing. And that's when the moisture is really important.
Yes, and I guess because you plant so many, you can't really go back over and check each one a few months later.
No, although there are a couple of things you can do to help, is do a spot spray around them in the spring so that you maximise moisture retention around the poles.
Yep.
If it's in clay country or it moves a bit, country that's moving quite a bit, you can re-ram them at the base just to make sure that they're firm in the ground. I mean, being firm in the ground is critical. No air down the sides. Maximum contact of the soil with the surface of the pole so that you can maximise the number of roots coming out.
These trees are going to change this landscape.
Oh, well, they do. They change the landscape hugely. I mean, poplar and willow poles, they have other advantages for stock shade particularly.
Yep. And
we've planted a lot of our paddocks, dual purpose, stock shade, aesthetics, erosion control, multiple benefits with poplars.
Yes.
Yep.
Can farmers access some funding if they want to plant some poplar or willow poles?
Yeah, they can in Canterbury here. I mean, initially we were doing it just as a private initiative because it wasn't something that our regional council did, but they've come on board in recent years and now have the SCAR project, Soil Conservation and Revegetation project, and through that farmers get roughly a 75% subsidy on the poplar, willow and sleeve.
That's pretty good.
So that's pretty good, yeah. So this project here we've got is a specific contract with the regional council. It's 6 farms in the Blythe Valley and there's 600 poles, 100 poles on each farm. And so we'll be working at this over the next week.
How come you didn't stay farming? What drew you to want to become a nurseryman?
We were farming with my parents and we'd been there, probably 6 or 7 years. And we decided to set up a little nursery on the farm, planting out native plants. So we were growing them from the plants sourced on the farm, growing them out and planting them in areas around the farm. And then what happened was actually some of our neighbours, farming neighbours, came to us and said they'd be keen to buy some plants. And we were still farming at that time, and that sort of started to grow a little bit. And then we thought, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to stay farming, or what are we going to do? We sort of had a moment where we were making a decision whether we change career or not. And we decided, my brother was coming home from overseas, and we decided we would do something different. So we looked at the options of buying another farm and still carrying on farming, but we decided to take a punt and do the native plant nursery business. Yeah.
Where does your interest in native plants come from?
Oh, well, my parents had quite a strong, I guess, influence on me because they... my dad particularly, he was one of those sort of farmers that was very in tune with the environment and a very exceptionally good farmer in terms of observation and understanding, the natural aspects of farming with nature. And that, they protected areas of bush on the farm, and so as a kid I spent a lot of time in that and sort of building on that.
Got inspired.
Yeah, got inspired. And it was just something, I guess it's something that I really enjoy and still enjoy doing after 25 years is, we just love working with farmers. Farmers are good people to work with, and we love helping them with doing the environmental work and giving them some solutions to some of these environmental issues and actually doing the work. It's really rewarding.
And Jamie, you've also been helping landowners to restabilise land after the earthquakes.
Yes, we had the Kaikoura earthquake 2016, and there was massive disruption of the land around here, particularly in the northern part of the Cheviot area and up through Kaikoura. And a lot of tracks, fence lines, water lines gone, particularly fence lines, huge amount of damage. And so over the past 8 years, we've done quite a lot of the erosion control plantings to try and re-heal the land and re-stabilise the land. So that's been a really interesting learning experience to see how we go about re-stabilising the land with poplar and willow poles. And we've also tried to look for different options, and we've done some trial work with just using cuttings, which are just short stakes off the ends of the poplar poles. So the growing tips, and growing them in amongst scrub and blackberry. We've tried all sorts of different ways to try and get more trees going on this ruptured landscape.
Is it working?
It is, but I guess we've been fortunate we haven't had massive wet winters straight after the earthquake, because that would have exacerbated it in a huge way. But some of the scale of the damage is massive in terms of trying to deal with it with poplars and willows, and it's almost too big. Yeah. And particularly for sheep and beef farms, there's a limit to how much they can spend on this sort of work. So, I mean, an important thing after the earthquakes is focus on those key pieces of infrastructure. So it's your water lines, it's your tanks and tracks and your fence lines. Get the erosion control to protect all your infrastructure.
Jamie McFadden from Hurunui Natives Plant Nursery. He was talking with Cosmo on a farm in North Canterbury's Blythe Valley.